Hi everyone, my name's Chris Williams and welcome back to my listening project. Previously, we talked about being your own best listener and thinking about what that was like. Well, today we're going to take it a bit further and talk about what does that conversation look like with one's own inner self. And it seems sort of funny to think about it this way because when you're looking at your inner self, this is a very sacred part, and we're breaking it down into a technical component. But the reason it's so important is because we need to be able to take what we get from the inside and move it outward into our everyday life. So let's take a look at this process together. Basically, there's three parts to the listening process. The first one is posing the question. And when we pose that question to our inner selves, like, I'm struggling in a particular relationship I'm having, and I really need guidance on what to do about this. In posing that question, we free up our whole being and that divine part of ourselves to move forward to give an answer or to give us information. It's sort of like a free will kind of thing where you want to make sure that you're giving permission for that and that you're sincerely asking for this information. And that's why also our intent is so important when we pose the question, because there's no fooling the divine. And if our intent isn't an honorable one, then that sets the stage for a not so good kind of conversation. And by that I mean if we set up the questions such as, I'm struggling with a relationship and I want to know how I can get back at this person. Well, that's not the kind of question that the divine wants to have a conversation about. So you have posing the question, which is the first part. Now you move into the second part, which is this inner dialogue with oneself. And a dialogue is very different than an ordinary day-to-day conversation. Because in a dialogue, we are allowing space. We're not trying to get an answer or solve a problem right away. The purpose of a dialogue is for insights and for observations. And this is the way between our outer and inner selves. This is the way that the conversation is more likely to be positive. So when we're in this inner dialogue, give and take, this could take moments, it could take days, months, or even years, because there is that space for the information then that sort of needs to settle in and then emerge. Now the third part of this piece of the pie is the follow-through, and this is the action-oriented part of the conversation. So you've posed the question, you've had the inner dialogue, and a sort of knowing has come forward, and now it's time to either make a decision and follow through with an action. Maybe it's changing a way of thinking, or maybe it's just saying, I'm making a conscious decision right now to do nothing. But it's a conscious choice. And so we have that cycle that's in place. Now, it's sort of interesting because we throw up roadblocks in each part of that cycle. So, for example, one of the roadblocks that I find that I put up is, if I don't have an answer right away, then I get very bothered by that sometimes. It's sort of like my ego is saying, I want an answer and I want an answer right now. And that's human timeline, that's not divine timeline. Now another roadblock that I put up sometimes is insisting that the information is going to come to me in a particular way. So for example, it could be that I expect the information to come intuitively. But in fact, the information could come by way of a good friend, it could come by way of something I'm reading, it could come by way of a gut reaction, it could come by way of animals or nature. There's a whole host of ways that the divine can offer us information if we're open to that. So those are a couple of the roadblocks I have. Now, right now then, I'm asking of you to look at this listening process from your own set of eyes and through your own experiences to say, do I have a process that I sort of follow? What does it look like? How's it working out for me? Because as we always say, what you experience matters the most. We'll be going back and taking a look at each of those three areas of the cycle far more in depth. But for now, Think about your experiences, think about what you do that's working, and think about the potential roadblocks that you might have that block you from moving forward. I thank you for being with me. As always, I encourage you to go to my blogs, and also to my website where you could purchase my book. And until we meet again, may the listener in each of us grow and flourish.